Vamos a empezar. I'm going to start our recording. Hola y buenos días a todos. Good morning to everybody. Espero que ustedes estén bien. I hope you guys are well. Es nuestra última clase de invierno. It's our last winter class. Y es la primera semana de la primavera. It's our first week of actual spring. Entonces, feliz primavera, happy spring. Feliz primavera. Vamos a practicar con muchísimas cosas. Vamos a practicar con gustar. Vamos a hablar. ¿Dónde están mis apuntes? Where did my notes go? I've got to get my correct screen up. Aquí viene. Here it comes. Okay. Bueno. I want us all to practice a little bit with our se trata de, y voy a escribirlo aquí en chat box. Se trata de is a special phrase. It's a special group of words that always gets used together. Se trata de, se trata de. Y se trata de, it treats about, but we would never say that in English. So this is why you can't translate word for word. This is one of those gem examples. Se trata de, we used to say, it is about. It is about. Se trata de. It treats of a certain topic. Okay. Se trata de. So I want people to have a chance to get prepared. If you have a prop, that you want to bring, that's fine to show us. But everybody's going to, I hope everybody is going to take a turn talking about what their favorite thing is about. You know, un libro. Ustedes pueden hablar de un libro, de una película, de una serie de la televisión, lo que sea, you know, wherever it may be. Y voy a empezar con mi película favorita. Es mi película favorita y se llama Moonstruck. Se llama Moonstruck. Es una película vieja con Sherry Nicholas Cage. Bueno, y es una comedia romántica. Es una comedia romántica. Moonstruck se trata de una mujer que conoce a un hombre joven. Los dos son personas desilusionadas. They are disappointed people. Los dos son los dos, Cher y Nicolas Cage. Se trata de su relación, se trata de cómo se conocen los dos, porque ella es viuda con mala suerte en el amor. Él también es un joven con mala suerte en el amor. Los dos vienen de familias italianas con tradiciones muy fuertes, ¿sí? Y se trata de su amor improbable, porque el hombre es el hermano de su novio, de su segundo novio. Su enamorado, her beloved, su enamorado es el hermano de su novio. pero es una comedia de veras. Se trata de la cultura de las familias italianas, de sus tradiciones hasta cierto punto, ¿no? Del amor, de los sentimientos de ser culpable, feelings of guilt, y de la felicidad, and of happiness, sí, al fin. Tiene una final muy feliz, muy alegre. Y todo resulta bien. Everything turns out okay. ¿Bien? Ok. A ver, ¿alguien quiere hablar de qué se trata? What something is about. ¿De qué se trata un libro favorito o una película favorita? Ok. Bueno, a ver, Diana, dinos algo. Tell us something.
Me gustan mucho, oops. Me gustan mucho los libros de Diana Gabaldon.
Oh, Outlander.
El nombre de la serie es Outlander. Outlander se trata de una mujer Claire que fue una enferma en la
Enfermera, nurse.
en la Segunda Guerra Mundial. Ella viaja en el tiempo, el segundo decimontavo.
Oh, sí. Al siglo, mejor decir, ella viaja por atrás en el tiempo. Viaja por el tiempo, viaja por atrás. She travels back. Viaja por atrás en el tiempo. Al siglo XVIII. When we get beyond 10, we would say 17th century or 18th century. And they would say el siglo XVIII. Ok, continúa.
18.
Se trata de Claire, una joven, una enfermera muy bella y
encuentra a Jamie Fraser.
un escocés, sí.
También hay un programa de Outlander en el televisión.
En la televisión, sí.
Jamie Fraser es muy guapo.
Muy guapo. Muy guapo. Guapísimo, guapísimo. Es un guapo imposible, casi imposible. Y valiente, brave, e inteligente, and smart, y todo. Es el hombre imposible, es el hombre casi perfecto. No es perfecto, pero casi perfecto. Ok.
Diana Gabaldon vive en Arizona.
La autora es una autora muy famosa. Ella vivía en Arizona. Ella enseñaba, she used to teach, enseñaba en Flagstaff. Enseñaba biología en la Universidad del Norte de Arizona, sí. Ella tiene un edificio con el nombre Gabaldon. Hay un Gabaldon Hall. Existe un Gabaldon Hall en la Universidad de Arizona del Norte.
Ella fue en Poison Pen hace 5 años.
¿Qué es Poison Pen?
A bookstore.
Oh,
librería.
Librería. Ella vino, she came, vino a la librería Poison Pen.
Sí.
Para firmar
Sí.
libros, ¿verdad? ¿La conociste? Did you meet her? ¿La conociste?
No.
Desgraciadamente, sadly. Sí, Diana Gabaldon es una de mis autoras favoritas. Ella escribe de eventos en el pasado y ella escribió la serie de Outlander. Hay 8 libros
Sí.
y más porque hay spin-offs.
Sí.
No sé cómo se dice un spin-off en español. Hay una palabra, tengo que buscar. Pero en la serie de libros, ella empezó a escribir una novela como diversión para saber, puedo hacerlo, just to know if she could do it. Y nunca pensaba que iba a tener un éxito, un éxito con un libro. Pero así es. Y voy a ver si hay una spin-off. No es. No es. Creo que no hay un término con spin-off. Quizás hay algo. Maybe there is something. Programa derivado, a derived program.
Oh.
Un programa derivado, spin-off. Qué interesante. Están pensando, sí, programa derivado, un momentito, programa como de la tele, sí, programa derivado, a program that's derived, taken off of something else. Sí, eso es. Ok. Me gusta. ¿Hay algo más, Diana, o no? No.
I'll try.
Sí, ok. Bueno, Nora, dinos
Okay.
algo. ¿De qué se trata? What's it about? ¿De qué se trata tu libro?
Okay, mine's a little bit short, and then I have a question for you at the end,
Okay.
Marilyn. Okay. Uno de mis libros favoritos se trata de la vida de Michelle Obama Becoming. Este libro se trata de su viaje desde el lado sur de Chicago hasta Princeton y Harvard. Me gusta cómo escribe sobre su familia, cómo conoció a Barack y su viaje a la Casa Blanca.
Muy bien.
That's it.
Muy bien. Hiciste bien. You
Good.
did well, hiciste bien. Sí, y es un libro muy popular. Ella vendió muchísimas copias de ese libro, muy popular. Bueno, me gusta. ¿Cuál es tu pregunta? What's your question?
When I was checking my translations and trying to get the se trata de in, another word kept coming up, sobre.
Oh, sí,
And-
sí, sí. Sobre.
And I was wondering what the difference was between sobre and se trata de.
Okay. Sobre, we just used to say about. Es sobre. Por ejemplo, y muchas veces hay muchas palabras semejantes. There are similar words. Pero se usan de otra manera o con otras combinaciones de verbos. Many times we might use other terms with different kinds of verbs. So we use sobre with es. Entonces, becoming es sobre la vida de Michelle Obama. ¿Ok? Outlander es sobre el amor de Claire y Jamie. ¿Ok? Es sobre, is about. Es muy fácil usar es sobre. It's very easy to use that combination. But a combination that a lot of people would use, probably even more than es sobre, is se trata de. in regular comment, in the cooler talk that we used to have, the talk around the cooler. Did you see a show last night, which now we can't do anymore because everything is streaming and nobody has a favorite show anymore? Okay, se trata de is an equivalent for es sobre. Se trata de is about, and people use se trata de all the time, and se trata de is reflexive, es reflexivo, and it has to be used in that chunk of words, se trata de. Y es muy popular usar se trata de amor, se trata de aventura, se trata de una guerra, lo que sea. You put in whatever it is that it is about after the word de, se trata de. Se trata de makes you sound more nativo, more than just sobre.
Okay.
Sobre is okay. And people who use sobre, if they feel like it, but we use it with es. Es sobre is about.
Okay.
Es buena pregunta.
Then the third sentence that I did where I said, I enjoy how she writes about her family, and it translated out, me gusta como escribe sobre su familia.
Sí,
Could
sí.
you use se trata de in there? Or not in
No,
this
their
way?
sobre would make more sense.
Okay.
Me gusta como habla de los cambios en la vida. I like how she talks about, and when you say when she talks about, then sobre makes much more sense. Habla sobre, talks about. Por ejemplo, se trata de is when you're saying it is about, it talks about, but, por ejemplo, Michelle habla sobre sus relaciones con la familia. Habla del poder en Washington. She talks about power in Washington. Habla de crecer a su familia. She talks about raising her family. Okay. And there sobre makes a lot of sense. Se trata de is when we give a general topic or a general description. But with other verbs, like habla sobre, talks about, or escribe sobre, writes about, then sobre is a great word to use. Muy bien. Bueno, okay, alguien más, somebody else. Suai. Dinos algo, tell us something.
Okay. Um, uno, uno de mis programas favoritos es el Mandalorian.
Me encanta Mandalorian, sí.
Can you see? Okay.
Sí.
Se trata del Mandalorian quiere llevar el bebé Yoda a casa.
Eso es, sí.
El bebé Yoda se llama Google. Él es el más adorable cosa de la galaxia o del mundo. Mucho Google, me gusta Google mucho, qué tan adorable.
Sí. Tengo un proyecto de crochet con un bebé Yoda, Qué ridículo, ¿no? Pero me gusta. Sí. Me encanta también la serie Mandalorian. Mis hijos empezaron a ver el programa Mandalorian y mis hijos me dijeron, they said to me, me dijeron, tenemos que suscribir a Disney Plus. ¿Y por qué? Porque Disney son películas de niños. Ustedes no son niños, ya no son niños. Pero tienen Mandalorian y queremos ver Mandalorian muchísimo. Ok, vale. Y sí, Mandalorian se trata de un guerrero del espacio, ¿no? Del espacio. Y como encontró un bebé, cómo encontró un bebé, una criatura. Se puede decir también criatura. This little word here often works for any it's not bebé. Bebé does mean baby, but criatura is often used to describe an infant-like creature of any species. Criatura, la pobre criatura, poor little creature, pobre criatura. So it is often used to talk about babies of any kind, animal or human, criatura.
So it's cute. I use adorable. Is that right?
Adorable, sí, una criatura adorable, un bebé adorable. Eso es, sí. Y tienen aventuras. Mandalorian se trata de las aventuras del guerrero y el bebé Yoda a quien protege, whom he protects, ¿sí? Mandalorian es un guerrero que protege, he protects, protege a la criatura. Y su meta, buena palabra aquí es la palabra meta. Meta es goal, something you're reaching for.
Oh.
La meta del Mandalorian, la meta del guerrero es proteger a la criatura Yoda y devolver la criatura a su hogar, return it to his home. Y tienen aventuras. Luchan muchísimo, they fight a lot, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
Bueno, me gusta mucho. Okay, alguien más, somebody else.
I'll try. Just
Bueno.
mine is very short.
Está bien, that's okay.
Mi película favorita es Misión Imposible.
Misión Imposible. ¿Con Tom Cruise?
Sí.
Oh,
sí. Me encanta ver sus peligrosas aventuras en todos los países diferentes con hermosas vistas.
bien. ¿En qué países, en qué países tienen escenas? Where do they have scenes from?
It's like from a different, it's like mostly like in Europe, right? It's like
en Europa?
Yep.
Okay. Alemania, Germany?
No, it's French and Italian.
Francia,
in
van a
Italy,
Francia, van a Italia.
Italy, and
Entonces,
somewhere in Belgium, right?
Okay. Bueno, Juanita, ¿se trata de espionaje? ¿Se trata de espionaje?
Sí, espionaje y what do you call that? It's like with all the trick and changing the you have to change your your face and all this stuff.
Oh,
you
de
know,
disfraces, disguises.
disguise, yes.
Say, okay, and now if we want to talk about a series of movies, because I Misión Imposible 1, Misión Imposible 2, 3, ¿cuántas películas hay? ¿Hay 4? ¿Hay 3?
8, some up to 8, right?
Oh, 8, hay 8 total.
8.
Okay. Cuando hay una serie, now when we talk about a whole series, and we could have really done this with the Outlander thing too. Instead of se trata de, if you talk about all those movies together, what do you think we change with se trata de to make it about more than one?
Oh, because this is a series, so you want me to talk in a specific movie. Which one?
So,
Is that
well,
what
no,
you mean?
we can talk about all of them. We can
Okay.
use se trata de, but we have to change a teeny tiny thing with se trata de to talk
Okay.
about all of them.
Se trata de peligrosas aventuras.
Okay, sí, but we'll just change se trata to se tratan
Se
Se
tratan.
with an
tratan,
N at
okay.
the end. Okay,
Okay.
so entonces, vamos a hablar de se tratan, perdón, las películas se tratan de, cuando hablamos de más de una película, when we talk about more than one movie,
Okay.
es buena práctica. This is a good thing for us to be doing. Se tratan de, they're about, porque
Okay.
hay un tema con todas las películas. There's a theme with all of these movies. You know, they're either all about love and adventure, or they're all about espionage, spying and adventure. ¿Sí? Se tratan del espionaje. They're about espionage. Se tratan de disfraces. They're about disguises.
Okay.
Se tratan de escaparse de un poder enemigo. They're about escaping from an enemy power. Se tratan de aventuras. They're about adventures. Bueno,
Okay.
magnífico. ¿Hay alguien más? Anybody else got something to talk about? Bueno, a ver, hay muchas personas. A ver, Jen primero y entonces después Jeffrey, ¿no?
Mi programa de televisión favorito es El Ala Oeste.
Ok.
Estuvo en la televisión de 1999 a 2006.
Ok.
El escritor principal fue Aaron Sorkin y el programa ganó muchos premios.
Muchos premios, sí. Muchos premios Emmys, ¿verdad?
El Ala Oeste es un drama político. Se tratan de el presidente Jeb Bartlett y su personal. El diálogo es rápido y a veces divertido. Now, I have a question.
Sí, sí.
So, I first wrote Se trata de el presidente Jeb Bartlett y su personal. But then I'm thinking, because it's the president and his staff, that maybe I should say Se tratan de.
Oh, no. Okay. Se trata talks about the movie. So
Okay.
if you've got a
Oh,
plural thing afterwards, that is okay just as is. El
Okay.
programa se trata de. The program is about.
Okay.
When you use se tratan, it would be como, por ejemplo, todos los programas todos los programas se tratan de.
Oh,
All the programs are about. Because you
gracias.
want to say there, then you can use se tratan de, okay? Se tratan de, and now West Wing is a hard thing to translate. One thing you'll notice is that, I just used Moonstruck, but when they actually translate things into different languages, sometimes they change what we would think of as the title completely. Okay. Now, how they exactly do that in Spanish, I'm not sure. Instead of using ala, which does mean wing, but wing is like, yeah, right? De un pájaro. When you mean a wing, it might be, I'm not sure, no estoy segura, they might translate it more like la sección del oeste, the west wing, because sección would be more like a wing of a building. And when we say West Wing, we're talking about like a section of a building, wing in that sense. So my suspicion is they probably changed the translation of that actual title a little bit, pero no sé exactamente cómo. I don't know exactly how. And sometimes they change it not to be an exact translation, but to be something that they think will be catchy. So
Okay.
sometimes when if you travel and you see movies, like on movie posters, they might translate a movie title so it doesn't sound anything like a translation, so that it's something that will be a hook for the listeners in that language. And I'll try to find some interesting examples of that, but I have to Google that. Tengo que buscar por Google. I have to look through Google to do that, because they won't be literal translations or even close. I think Star Wars used to get a translation like Guerras de las Galaxias, Wars of the Galaxies, which isn't too far off, but some other ones get very, very different translations. Es un punto interesante. Es algo de hablar de durante la primavera. During our spring session, we'll have some fun with that. Vale. Bueno, y se trata de West Wing o sección del oeste. Sí, se trata del presidente, se trata de los problemas de los políticos, ¿verdad?
You're done.
Ok. Bueno, me gusta. Gracias, gracias.
Una
Jeffrey.
pregunta.
Oh, no, sí, pregunta, sí, dime.
I'm still thinking about talking about the se trata or se tratan, because you say that if it is like for example, like the movie in Mission Impossible, it has 1, 2, 3 up to 8 or whatever, so you can say se tratan because you talk about all of them. But what about when you see the series like on TV, like Netflix, whatever? So, I saw the Friends series, for example, like Engrenage, and then in one series you have like how many episodes? So you call that trata or trata?
Well, this is very
A series
fluid.
like
so
that.
It depends on what a series is. One thing. Okay.
So you call it trata?
La serie would be the series. Se trata de. But los episodios se tratan de. So which, you know what, they will seg and change it from se trata de to se tratan de, depending on if they want to say episodes are about, or this series, it's one thing, but it's a unit thing, like familia. Like familia is a unit thing, but it's one thing.
Okay.
So if you talk about the unit, then it'll be se trata. If you talk about many seasons, temporadas. If you want to talk about temporadas, the seasons, because there are more than one season. Then it'll be se tratan de.
Ah, okay.
So it totally depends on what the speaker wants to convey. If they want to convey the idea of the whole series, one thing, se trata de. If
Okay.
they want to talk about all these seasons, how about they might use se tratan de. It
Okay.
depende. It totally depends. But notice it won't be me trato de, because I'm not about,
Ah,
right? Se trata de is either going to talk about a onesie thing or a group of things. And
okay.
it'll never be, I mean, technically you could look it up and you could conjugate it, but we don't say we're about, I'm about, you're about. We're talking about a thing that's about, or these things that are about. So it'll always
Gracias.
be a se trata de or a se tratan de,
De.
always.
Gracias.
Es buena pregunta. That's a good question, because we're going to get into some practice later on that will kind of be related to that general idea. Okay. Bueno, ¿qué
Gracias.
de nada, de nada. Okay, Jeffrey, ¿tienes algo?
Okay. Mi programa favorito de tele es Todo el mundo quiere a Ramón.
Ah,
Pienso este programa es muy divertido. Este programa se trata de Ramón y su toda familia y amigos. Ramón y su esposa y hijos viven demasiado cerca de sus padres.
oh, demasiado cerca, too close.
They live too close to his parents. Sus padres viven a través de la calle.
Ah,
Su padre es un hombre viejo con malhumorado.
okay.
Cranky old man. Y su madre es una mujer que siempre expresa su opinión.
Ah,
A menudo su opinión es sobre la esposa de Ramón. Y su opinión es casi siempre negativa. También hay un hermano de Ramón, su nombre es Roberto. A menudo él es triste porque Ramón es la hijo favorito.
oh,
Mm.
tiene celos. He is jealous.
El hijo favorito. Yeah, he's the favorite son. Okay. That's it.
Okay, okay. Hay buena palabra que podemos usar aquí. Hay un término, ¿cómo se dice? Nosy, you know? Muy metido. Tiene una familia muy metida. He's got a really nosy family. Sus padres son muy metidos. His parents. Su mamá es muy metida. She sticks her nose. Meter is to put something inside of something else. And when we turn it into metido, it means somebody who always puts their nose where it doesn't belong.
Okay.
There is a phrase, hay una frase, meter la nariz, like we have that phrase in English, that they stick their nose where it doesn't belong. Meter la nariz is really similar, la nariz, ¿verdad? Sí, meter la nariz, to stick your nose where it doesn't belong. Bueno, y es un programa cómico, es un programa cómico, ¿verdad? Sí.
Sí.
Ok. Bueno, Linda, ¿tienes pregunta?
Okay, I've got some hard words in here.
Ok.
Uno de mis libros favoritos se trata de un hombre en el Moscú bolchevique que
Oh.
es condenado a vivir en un hotel. Un
Bolshevik, Bolshevik?
Yes.
Bolshevik. Bolshevik,
Bolshevik.
because they have to borrow that. You know, no hay palabra Bolshevik en español.
That's what I thought.
Bolshevik.
Bolchevique. Un caballero el libros es la hermosa historia de un
Verdadera? True?
verdadera aristócrata,
Sí.
aristocrat, yeah, que intenta sobrevivir.
Ujú.
Se trata de su vida cotidiana.
Exacto.
Okay,
Okay. Vida cotidiana, everyday life.
yes, that's exactly what I was trying to say.
Cotidiana es buena palabra. Cotidiana, the day-to-day stuff.
Okay.
Really?
So did I say Moscow right?
Moscú. Creo que es
Moscú.
Moscú. Tengo que, Moscú. Momentito. Moscú. Sí. I thought so. Moscú.
Okay.
Con acento aquí. Moscú. Moscow.
Right.
Moscow.
So it's in 1920s Moscow, which is full of, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now, bueno. Una frase que puede ayudar, a phrase that can really help. When you want to say in the 20s, and you mean the 20s or in the 50s or the 60s or the 70s, and you want to talk about a decade, there are a couple ways you can talk about that. But the most common probably would be to say los años 20, los años 20. Los años, and then like that decade name, los años 20. Los años 70, the 70s. Los años 60, the 60s. And they mean all the years in that decade.
Okay.
Y ayuda, that helps a little bit. Sí,
Yeah.
Habla de la vida cotidiana en los años 20. It talks about daily life in the 20s. En Rusia.
See, so I was scared to say 1920s, so that's why I left it out.
But the way you say 1920s would be en los años 20. Well, now, ahora, estamos en los años 20. We're in the 20s now, but the different 20s. If you said los años 20, nobody would think you're talking about right now. They would think you're talking about the last decade. I don't know what we're going to do when we get up to the actual time period here. I guess that will shift. Okay. Bien. Y se trata de una vida bastante dura, ¿verdad? Talks about kind of hard life, right? Se trata.
Well, no, because he was an aristocrat.
Oh.
During the time of the Bolsheviks, so he got sentenced to live in this hotel. It's an excellent book. Everyone should read it.
Okay. ¿Y el título otra vez? ¿El título? The title again?
A Gentleman in Moscow. Yeah.
He oído eso. I've heard of that. ¿Sí?
Yeah.
Un caballero en Moscú. Un caballero en Moscú.
Sí.
Okay. Pero tenía que vivir con mucha gente. He had to live with a lot of people, ¿verdad? Tenía que vivir con mucha gente.
Sí.
No se podía vivir como la única persona en el hotel, ¿verdad?
I don't know how to say attic.
Ático.
Dormitorio.
Dormitorio. En el ático. In the
Yes.
attic.
One room in the attic. That was what he had.
Uy, qué vida dura. Hard life.
It wasn't hard, trust me. It was lovely.
No, okay. Uy,
I mean, in the book.
esto me sorprende. This surprises me. Okay. Ahora tengo que leer. Creo que ese libro es una recomendación de Oprah, uno de sus libros favoritos, ¿verdad? Ok, gracias, gracias. ¿Y alguien más? Somebody else? ¿Alguien más? Bueno, sí, Trish, dinos algo. Tell us something, Trish.
Okay. Mi programa favorito en la televisión se trata de comida y Italia. El nombre de la programa es Stanley Tucci,
Stanley Tucci.
Searching for Italy. Stanley Tucci.
En busca de Italia. Searching, en busca de, in search of.
I didn't
En
know if I
busca
should
de
look that
Italia.
up. Okay. Stanley viaje alrededor las regiones diferentes de Italia. Habla de comida diferentes de Italia en la historia. Aprendo muchas cosas sobre la cocina y la cultura de Italia. Es todo.
¿Se trata solamente de la comida y la preparación de comida o se trata de festivales y de ir de compras para comida en Italia? Bien.
Yeah, todos.
Ok.
Yes. Sí,
¿Hay una conexión entre la comida y un día feriado, holidays? Día feriado, ¿hay conexiones entre la comida y un día feriado, holiday?
Sí, he viaja en todas las regiones porque vive en Italia muchos años y habla la comida diferentes y how cocinar, preparar las comidas y la historia y la gente, just muchas cosas.
Ok, bueno. ¿Cómo se cocina? How one cooks. ¿Cómo se cocina? How one cooks. ¿Cómo se prepara? How one prepares. ¿Cómo se prepara? This idea of se can be used as in how one does this.
Okay.
¿Sí? Bien, ¿cómo se cocina? ¿Cómo se prepara la comida o los platos tradicionales? ¿Cómo se preparan los platos tradicionales de Italia? Ok. Y Stanley Tucci, sus abuelos vinieron de Italia. His grandparents came here. Sus abuelos o mucho más allá, or way further back.
No recuerdo su madre, I believe, no, I don't know how to say it. No, how do you say to be born?
Ok. Su mamá, por ejemplo, su mamá nació.
No, yeah.
His mom was born.
I think, I'm not real sure.
¿Su mamá nació en Italia? Sí.
Creo que. Creo.
Sí, creo que, perfecto. Creo que su mamá nació en Italia. Creo que su abuelo nació.
Yeah.
O creo que sus abuelos nacieron plural. Sus abuelos abuelos nacieron en Italia. Sus abuelos nacieron en Italia. His grandparents
I think
were
so.
born in. We say were born, and there's one word for that.
Mhm.
Nacer is to be born. And we usually use this verb nacer in the past because somebody was born.
Right.
You know, I mean, you use that more than you say, I am born. No. I am born no es muy natural, ¿verdad? I was born, nací. I was born. En el pasado. Bien. Usually we use this talking in the past. Okay. Bueno. Me gusta. Y grabaron, did they film? ¿Grabaron durante la pandemia? Trish? ¿O no?
Antes y después de.
Antes y después, antes. Y ahora Italia sufre por el lockdown ahora otra vez. Qué lástima, pero así es. Ok, bueno, algo más. Algo más. Okay, bueno, and I think you have to take yourself off of mute, Dorothy. Oh, no podemos oír. We cannot hear you. Hay un botón. There should be a little mute button. Vamos a ver. Let me see if I can get that turned off on my end. Aquí viene ayuda. Here comes help. Aquí viene el caballero. Here comes. Ooh, I can mute you, but I cannot unmute you. Oh, hay algún problema. There's some kind of little problem. It looks like you're off of mute, Dorothy, but we cannot hear you yet. So we'll wait for Jeffrey to get that pulled off. ¿Alguien más? Does somebody else have something to talk about in between? Mientras esperamos, while we're waiting. Jeffrey will probably try the always tried and true, turn it off and turn it on. Es lo que hago, that's what I do, turn it off and turn it on. ¿Algo más o no? Esperamos un poquito, we'll wait just a little bit. Okay, pretty soon, pronto, if Jeffrey can get this solved for us and we can listen to Dorothy, we'll do her spiel. But I do want to talk a little bit about, aquí viene, Okay.
I'm back.
Una solución es cambiar el aparato. Just switch, ¿sí? Cambiar el aparato. Just go to a different gadget.
He'll go figure out what's wrong with mine. Okay, I'll give it a shot. So I don't know if you can see this. All right, and I'll try.
Sí, podemos ver. Sí, pero no puedo leer. McDowell?
Yes, mi libro favorito en este momento es la guía de campo a McDowell Reserva Natural de Scottsdale. Este folleto tratase de los flores, árboles, animales y caminos en la McDowell Reserva Natural de Scottsdale. Este folleto es mi favorito educativo cuando sintonizo en el reservo en aprender mucho.
Okay. Se trata de la naturaleza en la reserva. A preserve that is a wildlife thing is a real specific kind of term. And actually, well, oh no, what I'm thinking of is a game preserve. So I have to, hay dos términos. There are two terms we can use. Reserva natural. Reserva natural is a preserve. They sometimes use coto, but that's like a hunting preserve, like where you go to hunt specific species, if you have a license. Si tienes permiso, if you've got a license. También hay reserva ecológica. Reserva ecológica. Reserva ecológica o reserva natural de Sonora. And we would just say Sonoran Preserve, ¿sí? La Reserva Natural de Sonora o la Reserva Ecológica. Es difícil traducir. It's hard to translate some of these terms, ¿sí? Pero hay una reserva natural de Sonora aquí en Scottsdale. Y es como, es un parque, de verdad, ¿no? Es un parque. De verdad, es un parque natural donde conservan especies de cacto, de animales, animales nativos al desierto y todo eso. Y publican un libro de la reserva, they publish a book. ¿Dónde se vende? ¿Dónde se vende? Where is it sold? ¿Dónde se vende?
In La Preserva.
Ok.
Yeah,
Muy fácil de obtener.
Yeah.
Me gusta. Tengo que buscar el libro. Me gusta. Gracias.
Gracias. Okay.
Excelente. Y se trata de la ecología. Se trata de la ecología de nuestra región del desierto, ¿verdad? Se trata de la región natural en nuestro estado, ¿verdad? Ok, vale.
So you can say that either one, reserva natural or ecológica.
Sí.
Ecológica.
Ecológica. Ecológica. Ecological.
Yeah.
Es difícil en inglés también.
Right.
Ecológica es una palabra
Ecológica.
difícil. Ecológica. La reserva ecológica o reserva natural. Es más fácil de pronunciar reserva natural, ¿no? Bueno, fantástico. ¿Hay más o no? No, bien. Okay. Now, this whole thing of se trata de or se tratan de is kind of a nice stepping stone into the me gusta stuff. Okay. Voy a escribirlo aquí. I'm going to write it here para que puedan ver so you can all see. A ver. Se trata de is kind of a nice stepping stone, but there are a lot of verbs that will do this that people use quite a lot. Se trata de it, one thing, something is about. Or se tratan de, they are about, right? And it's good that we saw both of these, but usually we wouldn't use this verb for yo. We just wouldn't, because you don't really say I am about. Oh, I know sometimes, I'm all about that, meaning that you're really enthusiastic about something, right? But we would use different verbs to get that meaning across. One of them being one of the verbs we're going to use today. Okay, so it's good to know that sometimes we don't use particular verbs in a yo form pretty much at all, or hardly ever, very rarely. And this whole next group of verbs that we're going to talk about, and there are sadly tons of them that do this, but we're going to kind of dip our toe in, and we'll do more with it come spring. Pero está aquí en el libro, it's here, ¿sí? Y empieza en la página 153. It starts on 153, but they kind of go through a long dissertation about this, which we can kind of hone it down to this. We can hone it down to either me gusta or me gustan. We can hone it down to that lower level. Okay, me gusta and me gustan. And okay, you're always going to see it used that way. And there's a whole family of verbs that behaves like this. This is not exactly like the se trata de, it isn't really, but, and it will use different pronouns. You'll notice that with se tratan de or se trata de, we use se. We're not going to use se with these verbs at all. Okay, so you'll hear this as me gusta, me gustan, te gusta, or te gustan, le gusta, not that se business, but le gusta, or le gustan. Let's take the plural of le, that'll become les. Les gusta, or les gustan. And then finally, nos gusta, or no, nos gusta or nos gustan, right? Okay, técnicamente, technically, in Spain only, you might hear os gusta, and you might hear it quite a lot because they use this in Spain, but this you'll only hear in Spain only, okay? And the os is the plural of this business of te. So if you said you guys like, it would become os, but only in Spain. In Mexico, in Latin America, they would use that as les gusta or les gustan. Okay, why do we have these funny things here that do this? And this is because kind of, you can think of it as they kind of work backwards. They kind of work backwards a little bit. That's kind of the way it is. Gustar really doesn't mean like, it means to be pleasing. And so technically, if you were to Google an exact translation for like, there isn't one. There isn't one. It's not there at all, technically. There is no one verb that technically means like, but we always use gustar to translate that idea. And these verbs work kind of backwards because the thing that is liked always winds up being trailing way behind, like a caboose. Okay, so that's the way that these kind of verbs work. And the really big thing you don't want to step your foot into is saying me gusta. Okay, you don't want to see me gusta. You don't want to say me gusta. And I am going to have you watch this video kind of as a homework thing, but I'm not going to play it during class. Es un video largo. It's a long video, but do watch it. Do watch it. Oh, and os voy a contar. He uses the os. He's from Spain. That's why he uses os. So you are going to hear an os. He tells you a story to start with of why you don't want to say me gusta, because he's going to talk about a guy who just falls in love with a girl and really wants to impress her, and how he likes her, and he uses me gusta when he shouldn't, and he really sticks his foot in it, you know. So he's going to tell this as a teaching explanation, but he's going to come about it the long way with a story at the beginning. Okay, so I'll send you off to watch that at a later time. Es un video de 15 minutos. It's a 15-minute lesson, but it's good listening comprehension for all of you to actually kind of go through that. So we're going to take a little bit of a look at this business of gustar. Gustar, to be pleasing, because Spanish really doesn't have a verb that means like. That verb does not exist at all. This is the closest we can come to it. Okay, so so we're really not going to conjugate gustar for yo or tú or nosotros. You know, you're used to conjugating a verb for all these different people, right? That's what you're used to doing. But this is the way we're going to conjugate gustar. And many, many verbs will act in this same pattern. They will behave in this same pattern. You're just going to see this form or this form, okay? And you're not going to see a yo conjugation or hear a yo conjugation all the time. So, okay, gusta is for liking one thing, meaning one thing is pleasing to somebody. And the me or the te or the le tells to whom it is pleasing. Okay? So, me gusta la música. Te gusta la comida picante. You like spicy food. Le gusta la ropa nueva. She likes new clothes. Le gusta el café. He likes coffee. Oh, so, you know what? That le thing is kind of a problem. Es problema. We don't really know if le gusta is he likes, or if le gusta is she likes, or even if le gusta is you formal like. Sometimes we may need to tag on an extra phrase with le. Para que sepan, so you know. If you know from context, if I were talking about my daughter, mi hija, and I talked about her in a long sequence, and then I used le gusta, you would know that le gusta meant she likes. So, okay, por ejemplo, mi hija se llama María, mi hija es estudiante universitaria en ASU. Le gusta el arte. You know I'm talking about her. So I don't need to define who I mean by le, because I started talking about her, okay? But if out of the blue, you just start talking about somebody, we may need to add something on to that le gusta to tell whether it's a he likes or a she likes or an usted, you formal like. We may need to do that. Depende, it depends. Les gusta el otoño. Like they like autumn. That could also mean you guys like autumn. Depende, see? Nos gusta Mexico. We like Mexico. So singular, the thing that is liked, if it is a one singular thing, it's gusta. If the thing that is liked here is spicy food, it's gusta, right? If the thing that is liked is one thing, new clothing, and we never say las ropas, guys. Las ropa, we never turn into a plural. I know we say clothes and you mean like a whole bunch of items, but it's always la ropa. It's an umbrella term. La ropa is never used as a plural. Just trust me, it's not. It's always la ropa, okay? El café, singular, so gusta. El otoño, singular, so we use gusta. México, singular, so we use gusta. Okay? Vale? Are you with me so far? See?
Yep.
Okay. Vale, magnifico. Okay, similarly, here's the thing to keep in mind. If what you like is an activity, if it's an activity, you'll use gusta, singular. Always just singular. Okay? Even if you like doing a bunch of stuff, you know, let's say that you name off a bunch of activities, it'll still be gusta, okay? So if what you like is un infinitivo, and we'll use it as an infinitive. Me gusta montar en bicicleta. Me gusta leer y escribir. I like to read and write. More than one activity. Keep it gusta, right? Hablar con él, talking with him, actividad, it's an activity. Okay, bien. Viajar, una actividad, so it's gusta. Ver películas. Now notice, this is watching movies, not Movies, watching movies, la actividad. Watching movies es gusta. Entonces, los ejemplos son, me gusta montar en bicicleta, te gusta leer y escribir, le gusta hablar con él, les gusta viajar, nos gusta ver películas. We like to watch. Okay? If I took out the word ver, then that sentence would change into nos gustan las películas. ¿Entienden? Understand? Nos gustan las películas. We like movies, but nos gusta ver. Nos gusta ver las películas. ¿Entienden la diferencia? Do you understand the difference?
Yeah.
¿Sí? Bien. And the
Question,
le, the te, the le tells who likes it. Sí. Nora.
on the Nos gustas ver películas, why wouldn't you say las películas after ver?
Oh, sí, qué buena pregunta. Because I'm talking about movies in a very general sense, just with that, we leave out the las. If I take out that word ver, now I do need to insert the word las in. And we're going to see some examples of that. We'll see some examples, Nora. Bien. Linda, ¿tienes pregunta? Linda, do you have a question? Or no? Your hand might just be up from taking your turn. Okay. Okay. If we talk about liking something that's plural, and we're talking about a whole big general category, everything in that category, then I need to go or seg or change into the plural form of that verb, gustan. And then that word las or los is going to come back. Entonces, los ejemplos, our examples here are, me gustan las naranjas. I like oranges. I like all the varieties of oranges. Anything that's an orange, I like it. Okay. Te gustan las flores. You like flowers, all kinds of flowers, everything in that category. Le gustan los animales. He likes or she likes, because we don't know from this example yet. See who the le is. It could be one person, a guy, one person, a gal. Le gustan los animales, like animals in general, okay? Les gustan los postres. They like desserts. Doesn't matter what kind of dessert, any old kind of dessert. Everything in that category that's desserts. Les gustan los postres. Nos gustan las fiestas. We like parties. We just like parties all the time, okay? And that word el or la or los or las comes back when we talk about that category, okay? In English, we don't do this little step of saying the word the, okay? We say, I like cats, I like dogs, I like horses. And we don't ever say, I like the horses. But if you like horses in Spanish, we do bring in that word, los. Me gustan los caballos. I like horses. So that's a little thing to remember because it's a little kind of a detail. Will somebody understand you? If you drop the word el, la, los, or las, yes, they'll understand you, but they're expecting to hear that word. So it'll sound a little off to them. Bien? Okay. So nos gusta el queso. We like cheese. Won't be expressed as nos gusta queso. It'll be nos gusta el queso. No me gustan los insectos. I don't like bugs. No me gustan los insectos. ¿Te gustan los pasteles? Do you like pastries? Okay, como categoría, as category. Bien, okay. Vale. ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Is there any kind of a question before we move on to that? I want to kind of expand from this gusta idea. So the pronoun tells you who likes it, right? And the verb is either going to be a onesie thing or a more than one kind of thing. Ooh. A ver.
Marilyn,
Sí, sí.
tengo una pregunta.
Sí, sí,
So,
dime.
in your earlier example, you have me gusta Mexico. And there was no article like El Mexico or.
Oh, with Mexico?
Yeah. So when you say
Mexico is just Mexico. Yeah, we don't have an article with Mexico. There are a few countries that people sometimes use the article with, like La China, they usually use La China. I don't, La India, almost La India. El Canada, they do use El Canada, but Mexico, just Mexico. Chile, just Chile. Colombia, just Colombia. España, just Spain. Francia, Italia, Russia. Yeah, there are a few that get the pronoun, and even there, depending on the region you're in, some people get lazy and don't use the el or the la when they're supposed to, but nobody cares.
Mhm.
Most countries don't use an article. Es buena pregunta. That's a good question. Okay, let's take a look at some other things. Oh, we're not going to get as much of a chance to practice as I hoped for, but I hope to send you off to do a little bit of practice. There are going to be some verbs, and I'm just going to, I'm going to limit it to 2 other verbs, and that is encanta or encantan. Encanta is literally to delight, and encanta will be used like gusta. Encantan, plural, it will be used like gustan. And think of this as magnifying gusta and gustan. Think of it as magnifying. So if you want to say like, but you want to magnify the degree, and you want to make it, I love this thing. I love this thing, or I love doing this thing. Then we use, instead of gusta, because you want to make it more than gusta, we make it encanta or encantan. Bien? And then we're going to take the opposite on the scale, which is molesta or molestan. And this means to annoy, to annoy, to bother, you know, that you really dislike. Actually, there's another word, you know, you can use disgusta, but molesta. Okay, por ejemplo, me molesta limpiar los baños. It annoys me to clean bathrooms. Me molesta limpiar los baños. Me molesta, perdón, pero me molestan las abejas. Bees bother me. Bees annoy me. I find bees to be annoying little critters. Me molestan las abejas. Me molesta, pero me molesta limpiar los baños. O me molesta el ruido de la calle. Noise on the street, I find that bothersome. Me molesta el ruido de la calle. Me molesta el ruido de la calle. If you hate the noise of kids playing, because you think little kids are loud and you don't like little kids, me molesta el ruido de los chicos o de los niños. Bien? A ver, sí? Okay, bien? I want to be able to send you out for a little 5-minute practice, una práctica. And I want you to practice with me encanta or me encantan. with me molesta, uy, or me molestan. I want you to talk about what you love or what you find very annoying. But remember, if the thing that you like is an activity and you love it, and it's an activity, me encanta. If the thing that you love is plural, me encantan. If the thing that you love is singular, me encanta. Perdón. So I want you to talk about something that you love and something that you find really annoying. Me molesta or me molestan. ¿Entienden? ¿Sí? Okay. And I want you to practice in a smaller group and then come back and see whatever kind of problems you might have had with that. Breakout room, breakout room. ¿Cuántos somos? 8, quizás grupos de 4. Let me just see if this divided up pretty evenly. Sí, aquí, bien. Okay? Y vamos, you will need to hit your join button. Okay, aquí vienen. We're waiting for, esperamos a los otros. We're waiting for the others to come on back in. 10 segundos. They've got 10 more seconds.
So I'm glad that you put me with Jan because I had been in the bathroom and didn't know what we were supposed
Oh,
to do.
perdón. Okay.
And so Jan told me, so it was
Okay.
nice.
And we'll pick up and do more with this when we get back too. Okay.
I appreciate that we hear that little notice that this meeting
Yeah.
is being recorded. Because
Yeah.
I don't, well, saw somebody got fired for saying bad things on a recording.
Okay. Bueno, ¿hay preguntas o no? Did you have any difficulties or questions about what you did? No? ¿Fue fácil? Was it pretty easy? Nora, ¿tienes preguntas? Sí.
Sue and I were wondering about the one I did from Molesta. I was saying, me molesta la music. We thought it was la música ruidosa.
Ruidosa.
I don't
Okay.
like that.
Noisy
Loud.
music. Noisy music?
Yeah.
Música ruidosa. Now, do you mean music that's like cranked up too high? Okay.
Yes.
What you probably are going to need is something like this, because it's an unusual term. La música a todo volumen, at cranked up volume. A todo volumen means turned all the way up.
Mm.
A todo volumen. Todo means all, at all volume. And what that means is that it's cranked up to the max. So if that's really what you mean, somebody who turns it way up, you know, like the guy with the boombox or not boombox, the guy with the car, and he's got the music turned on so loud, you got your windows rolled up and you can still hear his music playing in your car when he's next to you and his windows are up and your windows are up.
Yes.
Hear it?
Apre muchas cervezas.
Después de mucha cerveza, sí, así es. A todo volumen,
Oh, God.
all the way up, a todo volumen. Es buen término. That is a good turn of phrase to know. Okay. We will probably pick up with that where we leave off. I am thinking, do most people like the idea of having a little novelita, a little novel to read?
Sure.
I will send out information on this, and I will also make it available other ways if you do not wish to. I think they usually wind up being about $7 if you buy them. And we'll talk about it. It's not something you'll need for the first class. So don't feel like you have to run out and find it or go online immediately, because we'll talk about it because we'll probably have some people joining group who will be new to the group. So we'll talk about this in the first session. And Tomas, you should definitely not buy this because Tomas has read this already with a different group. So it'll be something different for you, algo distinto. And it'll be something to read outside of class, but not during class time. Para que sepan. Because the themes are not so wonderfully broad that you can just like talk for hours and hours about it. You know, they're simple things and they're designed to be easy to read. So we'll talk about that when we get back. Está bien, ¿sí? ¿Verdad? We got a week off. Solamente una semana, just 1 week, I believe. So we've got 1 week off, and then we start back up April 5th, el 5 de abril, ¿no? El 5 de abril, April 5th, ¿verdad? April 5th we'll start back up. Entonces, que gocen de la semana libre. May you enjoy your free week. Que gocen de la semana libre. Enjoy your free week off. And we'll see you guys in about a week, en una semana, ¿verdad?